His crowds are patchy in Detroit and elsewhere, and the song they sing for him, "Give Me That Vote for Hubert Humphrey," has a forlorn and plaintive quality, even with Chubby Checker leading it.
This man that's speaking to you now is pledged as the first priority of his administration to find peace abroad and to find peace and harmony here at home.
In Detroit, where the cars come from and the unions are king, a Democratic candidate for president can expect to feel at home. Mr. Humphrey has the overwhelming support of union leaders. He ought to have the same support from union members, but he hasn't. Humphrey hats were fairly rare the day he visited the Ford assembly line here. Mr. Nixon is almost as popular with factory workers, and still much more popular with American voters at large. Mr. Wallace comes a close third both ways. The average union member is worried in general about whether Negro advance is too fast or too slow, and in particular about the Vietnam War. Mr. Humphrey has supported the war and President Johnson with only marginal reservations. This is basically why he's behind, why his crowds are patchy in Detroit and elsewhere, and why the song they sing for him, "Give Me That Vote for Hubert Humphrey," has a forlorn and plaintive quality, even with Chubby Checker leading it. A Vietnam bombing pause that promised genuine and rapid results might still save Mr. Humphrey, but time is very short. At his lunchtime rally in Detroit, he was careful to speak in the vaguest terms about Vietnam, and for that matter, about Negroes.
This man that's speaking to you now is pledged as the first priority of his administration to find peace abroad and to find peace and harmony here at home. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll tell you what I'm going to ask you to do. We're not going to settle our problems. We're not going to settle any problems by shouting. We're not going to settle any of our problems by violence. We're not going to settle any of our problems by people having catchphrases. We're going to settle our problems when we settle down as neighbors and as Americans, when we can learn to live together, when we can learn to trust one another, when we can put faith in ourselves and in our country.
Detroit would have been a good place for Mr. Humphrey to take the kind of definite stand he used to about Negro rights. In July of last year, the city suffered the worst explosion in recent American history. 12th Street bears the scars still, though sheets of plywood cover some of them now and weeds where wrecked buildings have been cleared. Perhaps not many Detroit people look to politicians for help anyway. They've taken more consolation this year from the Detroit Tigers, who've just been certified America's best baseball team. The Tigers came top in their league and then beat the top team from the other league in a series of games which Americans call the World Series, since clearly the best baseball team in America will be the best team in the world. Nothing could have done more to repair Detroit's collective morale. Now the cameras are back on the politicians. Mr. Humphrey wants a World Series for them too, a television debate between the American presidential candidates. Mr. Nixon hasn't gone out of his way to make it happen, and it's very unlikely to now. Mr. Humphrey complains about that constantly.
You know that this platform today would be a better platform for the American people, a better platform for the American jury, if on this platform we were to have the three candidates for president.
His audience remains skeptical. Too many of them remember that when Mr. Humphrey was ahead in the contest for the Democratic nomination this past summer, he showed just the same unwillingness to debate with Senator McCarthy. There's a feeling among voters that Mr. Humphrey is trying to have it both ways on too many issues. And for that reason, or some other, the crowds are still not large enough, nor the singing enthusiastic enough, to offer him any very substantial hope on November the 5th.